Afternoon, everyone. We'll be starting in a few minutes. Thank you for your patience in waiting for the start of this webinar. Good afternoon again to everyone. Thank you for coming to the webinar on employment, livelihood, and food systems with Atty. Sonny Matula, the President of the Federation of Free Workers. We'll be starting in a few minutes. We're just waiting for a few more participants, but we are glad to note that there are many of you watching from different parts of the Philippines. Well, as you know, this event is also live streamed in Facebook, and we can have you can also send to your friends the link to the live stream also as well. So thank you very much for attending this webinar. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's 3:05 in my computer clock, so I guess we can already start. How can actually we ensure employment, livelihoods, and sustainable and healthy food for all? How can we guarantee that we protect the rights of the workers and at the same time provide for their level of employment? How can we strengthen businesses and ensure the growth of the country and also protect the rights of the marginalized sectors? Today, Atty. Sonny Matula, the President of the Federation of Free Workers, who is also running for the Senate in the May 2022 elections, will discuss with us the answers to these questions. This event is brought to you by the Ateneo de Manila University, including its Institute of Sustainability, the Ateneo de Davao University, the Xavier University-Ateneo de Cagayan, and the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Philippines. I'm Randy Tuaño. I teach at the Economics Department of the Ateneo de Manila University and also coordinate the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Philippines. And I'm glad not to be your host this afternoon. Just a few guidelines for our event this afternoon. Maybe we just remind you of the following. Kindly note that the program is being recorded via Zoom and YouTube. And I think I did put the link to the YouTube video in the chat. The event is also live streamed via the link that I already sent. All participants are automatically muted as they enter the meeting room. Throughout the meeting, kindly type in any comments or questions at the chat box. There will also be an evaluation survey at the end of the session. Requests for e-certificates will be made available to those who have accomplished the evaluation form. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining the webinar this afternoon. We are glad to have you in this discussion, and we hope to have a lively discussion with Atty. Matula. The webinar is being undertaken with other food systems webinar with a focus on agriculture and food, and also to those who are running in the upcoming elections. The first in this series of webinars was held last February 16 with Congressman Teddy Baguilat, who spoke eloquently on the issue of the indigenous peoples, their ancestral domains issue, and the relationship with food systems. We will soon be having our webinar with Atty. Chel Dioknyo, the chair of the Free Legal Assistance Group. This will be undertaken in April 6. And the last of this series of webinars will be held with our speaker, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, on April 25. This is a part of a series of webinars started last year by a group of faculty members and professionals in different schools to focus on the issue of sustainability of food systems. And this is part of the independent forum of the UN Food System Summit that was organized last year, which discussed pathways to sustainable food and nutrition, consumption, and livelihoods. Since then, we have conducted several webinars ranging from urban food gardens to programs that assist rural households to address the issue of nutrition. Let us begin with our opening prayer.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Heavenly Father, the fount of all goodness and grace, the cause of wisdom, the source of intelligence, we welcome you, O Lord, to this meaningful gathering of your beloved, who continuously give you thanks for every opportunity to learn something new and become fruitful to the works of your creation. May we find bliss in today's session and become more productive children and co-creators of the earth. This we ask and pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Again, thank you once again for joining this webinar with Atty. Sonny Matula. This webinar this afternoon will highlight the role of employment and livelihoods in sustainable development programs. We hope to have a discussion on the rights of laborers, which has been an advocacy of Atty. Matula in the past 3 decades, and how sustainable food systems figure in this issue. We will have first short presentations by a select group of discussants, then a longer presentation by Atty. Matula. The floor will then be open for questions and comments from the audience. Before introducing the discussants, let us first have a short introduction by Dr. Tina Liamson. Dr. Liamson is presently a faculty member of the Economics Department at the Ateneo de Manila University and the Ateneo School of Government. She has worked as a development consultant on agrarian reform, gender, food security, rural development, and migrant concerns. Her current passions are on food security, health and nutrition, and the environment. Let us all give a round of warm electronic applause to Dr. Liamson. Dr. Tina?
Thank you very much, Randy. I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the Ateneo de Manila University, Xavier University-Ateneo de Davao University, and the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Working Group on Sustainable Development Goal 2 to its second webinar for 2022. SDG Goal 2 is to end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. As a brief background, as was mentioned by Randy, in April last year, this same working group organized the first Philippine Independent Dialogue for the UN Food Systems Summit, which was held in September 2021. It also organized other community dialogues and webinars on issues related to urban community gardens, youth voices in the future, cooperatives, value chains, feeding minds, fighting hunger, healing the planet. For 2022, as was mentioned, we have a series of webinars prior to the May election to bring awareness on food, food systems, food security, nutrition, and agriculture-related issues more intensely into the public arena and to those running for public office at all levels. Part of the awareness raising is to dialogue with selected electoral candidates for the May election to understand their views and to communicate our concerns for the future of our food and nutrition, food systems, agriculture, and of course, the environment. This coming election is important as it will decide the trajectory of public policy in the country for the next 6 years to meeting the Sustainable Development Goals set for 2030. It is critical to elect leaders who know and understand the myriad of issues confronting our people, especially on how to address food and nutrition issues, the most basic of our human rights. Along the themes of the UN Food Systems Summit are regenerative agriculture, food and nutrition, consumption and food safety, equitable livelihoods and value systems, resilience to vulnerabilities and shocks. We hope to be able to highlight the many facets that are part of these themes in the different webinars that we will be holding. We all know that food involves not only production, and the COVID-19 pandemic showed us how important it is to factor in all other elements in the food chain, from production to processing, to marketing, to consumption, ensuring the links between farm or the sea to the table. The COVID pandemic exposed so much of the shortcomings and vulnerabilities of our agricultural sector, such as the overemphasis on commodities over food production, heavy reliance on costly and unsustainable chemical inputs, lack of value adding to our agricultural products, poor infrastructure support for post-harvest and marketing of these products, among others. And if we are to really grapple with the complexities of food systems, we need to incorporate such issues and concerns as health and nutrition, which involve the quality of our food, not just quantity. Our unsustainable consumption patterns and their effects on the environment. The capacity of our people to earn enough to afford and sustain consumption of sufficient and quality food, especially among our marginalized and vulnerable sectors. our ability to be resilient to all sorts of shocks in our economy and food supplies. The list of issues and challenges is complex. The interconnections or interconnectedness of all these issues and challenges on food security, nutrition, the environment, consumption, livelihoods, employment are so intertwined that we can no longer fragment our thinking, our understanding, our frameworks to just focusing on one or the other, or some. At the same time, the pandemic does offer us the opportunity to rethink, reimagine, replan our policies, our systems, programs concerning agriculture and food security, nutrition, and the environment that can lead to really addressing the hunger and malnutrition issues of so many of our population, especially our children and our youth, not only for the immediate, but for the very long term. And while we shouldn't be overwhelmed by the magnitude of the problems and challenges that confront us for both our short and long-term food security and nutrition and environmental health and well-being, it does mean that we need to engage multi-stakeholders, or what is now being called more and more a whole of society approach, much more actively to involve, to engage our policymakers and implementers in government, both at national and LGU levels, our agricultural producers, especially our small farmers and fishers, our youth, including our students, our civil society groups, and for all of us as consumers to become much more aware of these food and nutrition and environment issues and their many interconnections, and to find whatever ways we can become involved to ensure that we are able to feed all our peoples sufficient, healthy, and nutritious foods while caring for Mother Earth that sustains us all. Lastly, as was mentioned also by Randy, please join us for the subsequent webinars on April 6 with Attorney Shell Jokno and with Senator Kiko Pangilinan on April 27. We wish you a productive and engaging learning and sharing experience this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Liamson, for giving us an overview of the importance daily of looking at the different connections in terms of also these sustainable development goals, and also challenging us, especially in the new normal, to actually look at the whole of society approach in trying to address the many issues that we confront. So thank you. This afternoon, we are proud to have a very good set of distinguished discussants representing the academe, student, and labor sectors. I will introduce each of them first before they formally make their presentations. Our first discussant is Dr. Lynette Camelo, who is the University Director for Education for Sustainable Development at the Cebu Technological University, or CTU. She is also currently an Associate Professor at the College of Education, Arts and Sciences at the CTU, and was previously connected with the Cebu Normal University. In October 2019 until September 2021, she was designated as Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences of the CTU main campus. Our second discussant is Ms. Graciela or Gra Marie Lendicho, who is the Vice President for Consultancy, Development Society at Ateneo de Manila University. She is currently a senior at the Development Studies program of the Ateneo de Manila University, taking a double minor in humanitarian action and urban and regional development. She has been actively involved in community engagement initiatives with various sectors throughout her university life, ranging from children, farmer, and youth organizations. As the Vice President for Consultancy, she aids youth organizations in crafting tools for community engagements rooted in participatory development, and she has undertaken in her thesis an analysis of the informal food sector in food practices of urban low-income households. Our third, but our discussant is Ms. Arlene Golioso, who is currently the Union President of the Ateneo de Manila University, Ateneo de Davao University Grade School Unit. She has been elected as member of the National Board Member at Large of the Federation of Free Workers, to which Atty. Matula also belongs to, and is Vice Chair of the Employee Sector at the Department of Labor and Employment Education Cluster. Ladies and gentlemen, let us listen to our distinguished set of discussants, starting first with Dr. Camelo. Dr. Lynette. Yes, we can see you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for the kind introduction, Sir Randy, and good afternoon to our dear participants in this virtual in this webinar. I'm going to share my screen first. So what I am going to share with you this afternoon is going to be our university's initiatives, community-based initiatives for employment, livelihoods, and food systems. So the university is, our Cebu Technological University is a chartered state university. It's strategically located in the whole province of Cebu with 23 campuses, 10 satellite with extension campuses, and we are serving about 45,000 students. One of the mandates for every faculty in a higher education institution is for them to go into community and use the products of research as a means to reach out to communities, and as defined by CMO number 8 series of 2010, extension work is one thing that we do for communities. So we look at it as a way of transferring knowledge and technology, as distinguished from those that we offer to our regular enrollees in the formal degree programs. Another basis for our community work is that we also do systematic transfer of technology, innovation, or information generated by higher education institutions. Because of this, we look into four paradigms in the delivery of community extension work. One is for food security to increase productivity, as we are offering varied programs that are going to address that could address via technology transfer to improve livelihood, increasing income, increasing the production of high value products through advisory work. We train our partners organized into productive and self-help groups, so organized communities, so that we can build social capital. And finally, we can enable a learning of sustainable resource management practices through our community extension work. So currently, the university does these initiatives for food security, livelihood, and employment through our delivery units, our main campus, and the 9 satellite and their extension campuses. So for example, in our San Francisco Camotes Island campus, we have backyard farming of tilapia to address the need of families and homes to have their own source of backyard fish from their very own backyards. And so we have what we call a trapan, and this is a funded project of the university. We also have in our Barili campus, we have for clean up for the environment. For Argao campus, we have our livelihood projects, food processing, because the university hosts food innovation laboratories to conduct experiments on and innovations on value adding to certain food products coming from our agricultural produce in our college of various campuses offering agriculture programs. We also have our Daan Bantayan campus that offers fisheries, and so we have activities on panukos, squid fishing ventures, and then we also have sea urchin farms that are run by our communities. For our Danao City campus, we have varied activities as well, food innovation, which is also brought to one of the biggest cooperatives there is, that's in Lamak. Our products are sold and made by the members of the cooperative. For our Tuburan campus, our activities for Panginabuhi, Halad sa Kusina. So we have, again, Tuburan hosts a food innovation center. So that is also done by that particular campus. For our main campus, we have ways as a form of livelihood for some communities that are in the surrounding areas of Cebu City, so, Lapu-Lapu City, and Talisay City. Bual campus hosts a fisheries program, but they also have programs for organic agriculture for our different beneficiaries, as well as Tuburan Lanao, and livelihood activities for leading to a TESDA certification, from training to employment activities that we are giving to our different beneficiaries. However, for all of these projects that we have been challenged. Some of the projects have been there for 2, 3, or 4 or more years. But one of the oldest projects that we have is our hand loom weaving project in Argao campus, which serves as a model and a benchmark for a framework of how to sustain activities in a community-based extension activity that provides livelihood, a sustainable livelihood for our many beneficiaries. So I would like to share with you a video on this activity for CTU Argao campus. Let me share another screen. I hope my screen can be seen.
Cultural and culinary heritage. Among its major economic activity back then is the hinablon, or hablon for short, the art of hand loom weaving. Argawanans believe that this industry dates back to the pre-Hispanic era.
Ako ang lola niya, akong mama, nagkuhan man po, naami hablunan kada sa balay.
Sadly, because of the decline in demand for both hand-woven fabric and the decreasing number of habloneras, hablon was almost considered a sunset industry.
Ni decline yun ang relevance of hablon, to the point that I think there was only just one sitio, not even a barangay, one sitio in Argao that were left weaving.
This became the subject of a research study of graduate school students of Cebu Technological University, or CTU, in 2013. The researchers then suggested to create a community extension project out of the results of the study in 2014.
And we call it Hablon sa Cebu, to revive a dying industry, which we would like to pass on to generations to come.
CTU's first intervention was to help raise awareness and market hablon products by participating in trade fairs and engaging with partner agencies and institutions in the country. In 2014, a pageant called Dalagang Argawanon was launched in partnership with the local and provincial government, wherein they regained recognition, and in 2016, CTU received a grant from the Department of Trade and Industry in the form of 20 hand-loom machines located at the shared service facility inside the school's Argao campus. These machines were innovated by the school students and teachers to make it more ergonomic for the weavers and to expand the hablon fabric from the original 36-inch maximum width to 60 inches. Along with the innovations in the hand-loom machines came improvements in the weaving designs as the habloneras went through consistent skills training. Nearly 5 million pesos was also raised by CTU from its partner agencies from both the public and private sector to fund their marketing, product development, and capacity building activities. What then was feared to be a dying industry came back to life, and the descendants of the original habloneras chose to continue the beautiful tradition that their ancestors started.
We have now 20 weavers, and that means 20 families.
Si kada atong napasugod ko hablon diri wala mi maglisod. Okay na kaya mong panginabuhi.
Aside from fabric, they were also able to create secondary products made of hablon, such as bags, clothes, footwear, accessories, and home furnishings that are also on display at the showroom they built inside the campus. To improve the value of their products, they added hand painting, embroidery, and digital fabrication. This in return generated more jobs as they were able to hire more than 50 sewers and project finishers. Their products were further polished through the help of famous designers who became their industry partners, such as Kay Batikin and Debbie Palau of the Holistic Coalition of the Willing or Holy Cow, who taught them how to ensure stricter quality control to widen their products' reach. Hablon sa Cebu then broadened to include home furnishings such as towels, table napkins, table runners, placemats, pillowcases, and even furniture.
So my first impression was it has so much potential. It was like something that could open doors actually to know so many people and could make livelihood for so many as well.
Usa ko kaproud nga hablonera kay daghan ko nakamauan dili kay sa sayon ra hasta sa lisod nga ako ang naagian nga hablon. Daghan pong nalipay sa among mga trabaho.
However, they were not exempted from the wrath of the pandemic.
Siyempre, murag kuan naluya pod ni mga kuan kay mao na ba niya mo ang panginabuhian.
To help bring back the demand for Hablon products, CTU passed a Board of Regents resolution to require their institution's graduates to wear a sablay made of Hablon every graduation.
It provides continuous sustainable livelihood to our weavers and sewers, which is important to us.
Designers Debbie and Kay helped in creating the sablay's design, which included an embroidered badlit, or the Visayan baybayin, which meant the self for a higher cause.
The sablay is a manifestation of what CTU would like to see in its graduates working for a cause greater than ourselves.
CTU hopes that with these policies and structures created, the Hablon industry will live on even without them.
A genuine social enterprise. We cannot be here forever.
We realize also that sustainability is very important and institutionalization is critical to sustainability. I am very grateful for CTU, the system, that it has provisions and it has the people, the right people.
I have served my purpose as a teacher, but at the same time, I have also touched the lives of these women.
Okay. Share.
Sige po ako. Uchi marindo.
Okay. Sorry for that. Wait, where am I? Okay. So I'm going to go back to my screen on our challenges. And so the questions that the issues that I'd like to raise on the sustainable project implementation, the many projects that we have, and how we can sustain and continue on with the work that we are doing with the community. And so for SUCs, for state universities and colleges, we would like to strengthen. We can only do this with partnerships with local government agencies, NGOs, people's organizations, and other key players to ensure that community extension work will address sustainable development for marginalized communities. And internally for us in the university, we would like to make everyone on board, hopefully make more involvement of faculty in community extension work, given the system of ranking and promotion in place, which hopefully will be replaced in the coming years with legislation and budgetary implications for universities. With that, I would like to say thank you very much for listening to our story, and all of us working for a cause greater than ourselves. Maayong hapon.
Thank you very much, Prof. Lynette. Let's all give a warm round of applause to Prof. Lynette. Thank you for highlighting the role really of sustainability projects being undertaken by different universities. And maybe the question is, how do we actually extend this? How can support be given more to these types of projects being undertaken? So thank you very much for informing us about your projects and also your challenges. Our second discussant is Ms. Grace Randicho. Sorry, are you already here?
Yeah, sige po. Okay. Sige, magandang araw sa lahat. Nais ko munang magpasalamat at ako'y inimbita sa webinar na ito. Ngunit bago tayo magsimula, can I get a show of hands? Sino dito mahilig kumain ng street food? Kahit mag-raise hand option, any heart react, I'm seeing a couple here. So, sige. So, maybe for some of us, no, street food may be sites to explore, local delicacies, or something we may enjoy from time to time. But for those living in poverty, particularly in urban areas, the informal food sector may become a daily source of sustenance. Sa totoo lang, natuwa ako at medyo kinabahan noong ako'y kinuhang student discussant para rito. Ang usapin ng pagkain ay napaka-personal para sa akin. My mom currently owns a food business, and as a single mother, this is her primary means of providing for her 3 children, si Atty, si Jemo, at ako. We didn't always live a comfortable life. Mama was born and raised in the slums of Tondo, Manila, considered to be the biggest slum area in the city. Born to poor parents, a mechanic, and a housewife with 8 children, household food insecurity was a norm for them. So to cope, Mama engaged in the informal food business. Nagsimula yung racket niya ito sa pagtinda ng lugaw sa kalsada para mapakain ang sarili at makabili siya ng uniforme sa eskwela. Noong nakaraos siya at nakapagtapos ng kolehiyo, nagtrabaho siya bilang elementary teacher. Ngunit alam naman natin dahil maliit ang sweldo at gipit sa oras dahil pinagsasabay niya pa ito sa mga ibang racket, bumibili siya ng kanin ulam at merienda sa street food vendors o sa malapit na karenderya. Fast forward naman noong nagkaanak siya at naging single mother sa maagang panahon, bumalik siya sa pagiging isang informal food vendor. Sabi noon ni Mama, pinili niya ang ganitong trabaho dahil kumikita na siya, napapakain niya pa kami nang galing sa kanyang mga tinda. See, Mama's story is a common one in urban Philippines. As I mentioned earlier, the informal food sector may become a daily source of sustenance for those living in poverty. Una, ang pagtatrabaho sa informal food sector ay nakapagbibigay ng employment opportunity at income. It is found that the sector is an important source of income for those unable to penetrate the formal sector. Halimbawa, those without higher educational attainment. For people like Mama naman, it is also a source of extra income to compensate for the low wages in the country. Pangalawa, ang pagtatrabaho sa informal food sector ay nakapagbibigay ng pagkain sa urban low-income households. In a study examining the occupational choice of urban low-income households, those that engage in the informal food sector choose such occupation because unsold food items could then be converted into meals for the household. Para naman sa ating mga kababaihan, both single mothers and mothers living in poverty, engaging in an informal food stall in front of their houses allows them to earn while balancing household care work. Further, despite increased access to supermarkets, fast food restaurants, and other formal food retailers, the purchasing power and consumption patterns of low-income households are mostly incompatible with these formal retailers. Hence, the informal food sector plays an important role in the employment and food consumption of urban low-income households. Pero, matanong ba natin, ano ang karaniwang polisiya na nakikita natin para sa informal food sector? In the Philippines, so-called development and the beautification of our cities are often accompanied by cleaning of streets. Sa madaling salita, ito ang pagpapalaya sa mga informal food vendors. There's both a knowledge gap in government and in Philippine research about the negative implications of removing low-income households' access to the informal food sector. And as I outlined earlier, these negative implications are both seen in issues of household food security and employment. Siyempre, no, I understand that there are concerns, and very valid ones at that, about the food safety and nutritional value of the informal food sector. Ngunit, imbes na palayasin at patayin ang mga hanap buhay na ito, our policies and programs should be geared towards the improvement and protection of the informal food sector, precisely because of their importance to employment and food security. This starts with the banning of vendor harassment, providing free and accessible capacity-building workshops on delivering safe and nutritious food, and providing nearby basic infrastructures such as wash facilities that can improve both their work environments and public space safety. Vendors could then be permitted to operate given that they implement health and food safety protocols they've learned. This provides more stability to food vendors, allowing them to invest in equipment that can enhance food safety. Additionally, access to credit and social protection measures for the informal sector, such as the Alcansya program of the SSS, should be openly promoted by the government to increase awareness and encourage vendors to avail of such. The informal food sector, our street vendors, our karinderya workers, and other vendors part of the sector, they are important food actors that when given policy support and the space to participate in addressing both issues of employment and food insecurity, can potentially help uplift the lives of millions of urban poor. So yung panawagan ko dito kay Atty. Matula, no? The comfortable life I am living right now, born out of my mother's hard work, is more of an exception rather than the rule. My wish is for every person like Mama to be recognized and supported by the government so that they too can finally live comfortable lives. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig.
Thank you, Gra, for that wonderful speech, no, and also for highlighting the issue, no, of the informal food sector, no, and how can the government actually protect the informal food sector because they provide employment and also access, no, to food, no, among especially our urban population. Our third discussant is Mrs. Arlene Golyoso of the Ateneo de Davao University. Mrs. Golyoso.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to Sir Randy and to Atty. Matula and to the other discussant, and to everyone who are listening right now, good afternoon. And of course, I would like to start off by saying that I'm very grateful to have been part of this particular talk, no, to talk about the important sector on the employment or the employee sector. No, much of it was already partially discussed earlier on, yung effect ng employment sa lives natin, no, and the issue on food security. So as we have been discussing, food management is indeed a concern not only with respect to the quantity of food that we need, but more importantly, as it was mentioned earlier on during the introduction, now more than ever, we see the importance of really giving much attention to the quality of food that we partake, as it has its impact and implication on health, no? Especially with the pandemic that we have experienced, we see the key role that food plays in really promoting general good health and well-being. And employment, for this matter, is an important issue to address, as most of our people in the Philippines are really employees, no? The source of our living is from the salaries and the wages that we receive through the work that we do. These are our main source for the things that we need, not for ourselves and also for our family and our dependents. However, as we may have all, kasi lahat naman tayo dito halos mga workers, no? Although some sabi nga ni Graciela, it's not enough that we have work. Many of us also engage in side business. But for most of us, really, our employment is our main source of income. So in that case, we all know, we must be aware na for so long, the situation of employment really leaves much to be desired, and the burden of it has only compounded with the experience of pandemic that we all have gone through. So as we know, in the past years, like 26 to 38% of businesses since in 2020 have closed down, according to the Department of Trade and Employment, Department of Trade and Industry. So we can just imagine the number of employees that were displaced and have lost their main source of income. So hindi lang natin dito binibilang yung empleyado mismo, pero nandyan din kada empleyado. Siyempre, iisipin din natin yung mga pamilya niya, yung miyembro ng pamilya niya na umaasa sa kanya. So with that number of businesses that have closed down, we can just do the math, no? The number of people that were affected by this particular situation. With respect naman to unemployment, at present, it's between 3 to 5%. So although reports have been saying that much improvement, much decrease have been going on, especially with the alleviation or the improvement as well of our situation with COVID, but still, we're still talking about like millions of people across the country affected by this unemployment. And another issue with respect to employment is, of course, our salary. With us in the respective works that we do, I belong to the academe, and of course, we promote the greater value of the work, but let us, to be honest with it, lahat naman tayo nagtatrabaho basically and primarily to earn an income for our family, for our needs and that of our family. And nakakalungkot lang, no, na hanggang ngayon, every time mag-attend ako ng meeting discussing minimum wage, hanggang ngayon hindi ko talaga maintindihan. Kasi I belong to Davao, no, province. Kalaki ng Davao, but still considered as a province. But at any rate, I still at this point cannot understand why there has to be a difference with respect to the minimum wage we set, no? The minimum wage, for the information of all, it ranges from 316 per day to 537. It would depend on where you are in the country. So even if you are in the maximum level for the minimum wage, still, no, for especially now, we have so many young people who are starting out with their work, no, young people starting out with their family. So with this amount, even with the total amount that we get as salary, we know very well for those who have been working that as data would show, only 68% of this actually goes to the basic food, to buying the food that we need to, the buying of the food. And that even is not enough. That amount is not even enough to ensure the quality of the food that we bring to the table. So most likely, katulad nga ng na-share ni Graciela kanina, most likely what most of our workers would really be providing for their families are just really the basic needs, no? Providing quantity food, not so much anymore having enough to provide for quality food that are really necessary to ensure good nutrition and good health for themselves and of course for their family. Pero given that that's the situation, so yan talaga ang tanong ko, bakit kailangan, una, mababa na nga yung minimum wage natin. Tapos meron pang pagkakaiba across the regions na kung tutuusin sa Davao right now, diesel is at what? Last time I checked is at 60 plus, 62. Gaano ba kababa or gaano ba kalaki ang diferensya with respect to the cost sa doon nakatira sa Luzon or somewhere in other areas, no? Why there has to be a difference? So I feel that in my opinion, this compounds the problems of our workers as minimum na nga, it's so difficult to move the amounts and meron pa tayong hinaharap na pagkakaiba-iba with respect to it, no? Pag pinag-usapan natin bilihin, na pinag-usapan natin lang ngayon, marami ngayon ang nakakaranas ng involuntary hunger. Ibig sabihin, talagang gustuhin man nila, pero ito lang talaga yung kaya nilang maihain sa pamilya. Dahil ito lang naman din ang kayang maibigay dahil sa kind of income that we have. And sadly, that is really the situation of most workers. Mabuti ng mabuti para dun sa, sabi nga, I like the term of Graciela a while ago, no? Mabuti ng mabuti dun sa marunong dumiskarte or may panahong dumiskarte kasi kaya nilang they can provide means to augment the income. But generally for many, especially if the worker is not just a worker but also a wife, no? A wife and a daughter taking care of the family, even then, having other activities to augment the income may not even be possible given the time and the personal needs that the person also have, no? So with that, I can I would like to share more about it, but siguro I'd like to focus more on the points that maybe our good senator, let's claim na natin yan, I hope have some answers for us in the coming future. So 3 points siguro that I would like to raise with respect to the concerns of the employee sector, of the labor sector. And the first one would be employment situation in the country. We have seen that particularly with the type of security that we receive, no? Security in terms of our salaries and wages, and security in terms of the work that we do. In the past pandemic, nakita natin kung gaano kadali na nawawala ang trabaho. Even for those who are protected by labor unions, meron pa ring mga nagsasara ng ganun-ganun lang, no? So, ano kaya yung mga pulisiya na maari ni nating makita or asahan? Kasi hindi naman siguro, for sure, the pandemic, COVID is not the first and definitely not the last emergency that the country will face and which would affect the labor sector. So what policies can we possibly put there? Yung polisiya talaga na may ipin, kung sasabihin nga, kung anuhin nga natin, talagang merong effect, no? And that will protect the workers. Secondly, would be the possibility of looking in to the minimum wage. Maybe it's high time that we review the reasons why there is a difference with respect to the minimum wages that we adopt in different regions, and if this reason still holds true, and maybe it's about time that we have a national minimum wage, no? Kasi minimum na nga. So sa iba, mas minimum pa sila sa minimum. So masakit yon sa ating kapwa manggagawa. And the third point is possibly policies we can expect that would help provide better employment opportunities. Kasi ngayon, ang nagiging isa ring kalaban is marami tayong mga kasamang manggagawa na mas pinipili na magtrabaho sa ibang bansa, no? Kasi greener pasture. Of course, that is their choice. However, meron din siyang implications sa ating bayan, no? It causes brain drain as one of it, no? So, these are the points that I would like to raise, and maybe these are points, if responded to, can somehow ensure that our workers and their families could have a better capacity to provide for themselves and their needs, not just the quantity of food, but basically the quality of food necessary to live well and be healthy. Yan lang po. Maraming salamat.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Glioso, or Lino, for highlighting the 3 points that you said. No? So on how to improve labor protection, the minimum wage, and also how to expand the employment opportunities. And I guess those are also the points, no, that Gra and also Prof. Lunet actually also said earlier, no, about how do we expand these employment opportunities in the face of the different sustainable development projects. No? And also Gra also discussed how the food sector or the informal food sector can also expand these employment opportunities also as well. Okay, so with that, we'd like to thank again our discussants. Let's give them a warm round of electronic applause. So thank you very much for the points. I think they're very rich that for our discussion this afternoon. And at this point, I'd like to introduce our main speaker, who will be talking about the link, no, between these different issues that we discussed this afternoon. He is currently the president of the Federation of Free Workers, former commissioner for the labor sector at the Social Security System. He obtained his law degree from the Manuel L. Quezon University in 1997, and he filed his certificate of candidacy as an independent senatorial aspirant in October 7, 2021. He is one of the conveners of the Alliance of Labor Leaders for All for Lenny to support the VP Lenny Robredo's presidential bid. And in October 2022, last year, he was chosen as one Zambayan's presidential senatorial candidate to fill the 12th slot to complete VP Lenny's senatorial slate. So, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much, for him coming to take some time from his very busy schedule. Let us all give a warm welcome to Atty. Jose Sonny G. Matula.
Hi.
Atty.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before the Ateneo and Xavier communities and the other participants in this webinar discussion. Ako po'y nagagalak na naimbitahan na nanggagaling po kami sa isang kampanya sa Bayugan City. Mamayang gabi ay sa Butuan City naman ang aming haharapin. Ano? At ako'y natutuwa na makasama muli yung mga kaibigan natin na matagal ko na rin hindi nakita. Maski si Arlene sa webinar ko lang nakikita. Si Ma'am Lynette Camilio ay kasama natin, si Miss Grace Liandicho at si Arlene Golioso. At ilan na ba tayo dito sa webinar na ito? Kanina 100 na laglag ata yung
100. Marami din ho, Atty. Matula nanonood sa YouTube.
Nanonood sa YouTube. Very good. Oh. So, kasi marami nanonood sa atin na hindi masyado kabihasa o kabisado sa English, magsasalita nila ako sa Tagalog. Problema talaga ang pagkain sa ating bansa. Kaya nga po, higit na kalahati ng ating populasyon ay may problema sa pagkain. Sabi ng United Nations Food ay ilan yon? 59 million na mga Pilipino ay may kakulangan o kulang talaga sa pagkain. Ito sa palagay ko ay dahil sa kakulangan ng availability ng pagkain at ang iba ay walang access talaga sa pagkain, kaya feel nila ang kagutuman sa buhay. Kami po ay umiikot sa buong Pilipinas. Nung nandun ako sa Batangas, ang problema ng mga magsasaka na siyang nagpuproduce ng ating pagkain ay yung Agrarian Reform Program ay hindi pa rin tapos. Yung ating mga magsasaka sa libmanan ay ang problema ay yung available na pondo na ma-avail nila para sa pagsasaka na hindi sila nababaon sa utang. Marami sa kanila ay nakakompromeso na, hindi pa man tig-ani, ay may malaki na silang utang na kung saan dadalhin yung kanilang mga palay para pambayad. At kung wala silang produkto, siyempre wala silang pambayad, mababaon sila sa utang. May mga farming community naman tayo na nakakapag-survive, lalo na kung may asosasyon sila o may mga kooperatiba na tumutulong sa kanila. Kaya may pag-asa naman yung mga magsasaka natin na makabangon kung may makakatulong sa kanila. Natutuwa ako doon sa discussion ni Professor Lynette tungkol sa mga ginagawa ng Cebu Technological University na pagtulong lalong-lalo na sa ating mga magsasaka na ma-improve ang kanilang produksyon at magkaroon ng proseso ng pagkain na kanilang ginagawa. At syempre may iba pa sila mga livelihood projects na makakatulong para ma-augment ang kanilang income, para mapataas ang kanilang hanap buhay. Ito namang sinare sa atin ni Ma'am Grace ay patungkol dun sa informal sector, kung paano nakakatulong yung informal food industry para maibsan ang kagutuman ng ating mga kababayan. At saka diniscuss na yung coverage ng social security system na paboritong-paborito ko. Si Ma'am Arlene naman ay yung patungkol sa pangailangan talaga ng mga manggagawa na mapataas ang sahod at yung pag-address doon sa discriminatory wage fixing sa kasalukuyang panahon na hinaharap ng ating mga manggagawa. Sisimulan ko po doon sa huli kay Arlene. Napakahirap talaga ang eskema ng sahod sa Pilipinas. Kung titingnan mo yung skema ay mas mataas yung non-agricultural kaysa agricultural sector. So sa ating mga wage order ay pinapakita na yung diskriminasyon na mas mababa yung mga manggagawa sa agrikultura at mas mataas yung nasa agricultural sector. Sa Metro Manila ay 500 pesos lamang yung mga ang sahod ng nasa agrikultura, samantala yung nasa non-agricultural sector ay 537. Ang pinakamababang minimum wage natin ay nasa BARM 290 pesos yung sa agricultural sector, ano? At yung sa non-agricultural sector ay 325 pesos. Itong mga wage orders na ito ay mula pa noong 2019 at wala nang wage increases pagkatapos ng 2019. Kaya nga po kami sa trade union movement ay nagtatanong ano po ba ang kaibahan ng sikmura ng manggagawa na nasa non-agricultural sector at yung nasa agricultural sector o yung nasa Metro Manila at yung nasa labas ng Metro Manila, na ang pangangailangan naman ng mga manggagawa ay parang pare-pareho naman. Kung 42 pesos, 48 pesos o 50 pesos ang kilo ng bigas sa Metro Manila, ay may sa labas ng Metro Manila may mga pagkakataon pa na mas mahal ang bigas. Yung sardinas nga lamang nung pumunta ko diyan sa Quezon City sa isang isang grocery ay 18 pesos yung sardinas. Pero dito sa Laguna na kung saan ako nakatira ay umabot pa ng 19 pesos, 20 pesos. At dito sa bahagi ng Agusan ay umabot pa ng 25 pesos doon sa kaliblibang suok ng Agusan. Kaya palagay ko i-review ng pamahalaan yung minimum wage fixing na nangyayari sa kasalukuyan. At ang aming proposal dyan sa trade unions ay dapat ito po ay baguhin at ibalik na yung dati, yung mayroon tayong national minimum wage fixing. At mula dyan sa national minimum wage fixing, ang ating namang layunin ay magkaroon ng living wage ng ating mga manggagawang Pilipino. Ay gagawin natin yan from the national wage scheme, ay dapat ma-increase pa yan sa pamamagitan ng mga collective bargaining negotiation. At kung hindi man ay magkaroon tayo ng industry wage negotiation sa pamamagitan ng mga tripartite bodies na gagawin ng ating batas. So yun po ang unang pag-address namin dun sa minimum wage fixing. Hindi ko agad masagot yung iba pang mga issue pero susubukan kong bigyan ng katugunan. Yung palagay ko ay napaka-importanting mga bagay. Yung halimbawa, yung sinabi ni Grace patungkol doon sa informal sector. Kinakailangan talaga ng tulong yung informal sector natin. At sa isang example na ating tutulungan dyan ay yung patungkol sa coverage ng social security system. Malawak pa po ang hindi na-covered ng social security system sa informal sector. Maganda yung sinabi ni Grace tungkol sa alkansya. Pero palagay ko ay mabagal pa rin ang pag-expand ng coverage sa informal sector para matulungan ang mga manggagawa dito, lalo na kung mawalan sila ng trabaho, magkakasakit sila o magkakaroon ng may anak o nabalda sila. Kinakailangan talaga ng tulong dito ang ating mga manggagawa. So ang aming proposal dyan ay dapat i-subsidize ng gobyerno yung pag-remit o yung kontribusyon na dapat ay manggagaling sa employer. Kasi itong mga nasa informal sector ay walang employer. So pwede ba na ang gobyerno ang magbibigay ng subsidy para tugunan yung employer's contribution para hindi naman mabigat sa kanila ang magiging kasapi ng social security system. At ito po, kung may kung may party ang gobyerno sa kontribusyon, palagay ko, ma-entice natin ang mga self-employed na nasa informal sector na magpasapi sa social security system. At napaka-importante po ang batas dito sa social security. Kung titingnan mo, i-examine mo yung social security system law, ay mayroong provision diyan sa section 20 na ang gobyerno dapat ay maglalaan ng pondo para sa social security system bilang suporta ng gobyerno. Pero maliban sa 500,000 na unang binigay ng gobyerno sa social security system noong 1957, mula noon hanggang ngayon ay walang kontribusyon ang gobyerno sa social security system. Ito po ay contribution, ang nagpapatakbo at ang bibigay benepisyo ay ang contribution lamang ng mga manggagawa at ang counterpart ng ating mga employers. Itong sa sinabi naman ni Ma'am Lynette tungkol sa mga ginagawang suporta sa ating mga food producers. Napakaganda nito at sana ma-expand pa ito para matulungan talaga ang ating mga magsasaka. Malaking tulong po na ma-augment o madagdagan ang income ng ating mga magsasaka para sa produksyon ng ating mga pagkain. Sa kasalukuyan ay nakausap namin yung mga magsasaka at ang sabi nila sa nakaraang 2 taon, bawat taon ay nawawalan sila ng 6,000 pesos bawat ektarya. At sa nakaraang 2 taon ay 12,000 pesos yan. Sa kasalukuyan ay mayroon atang average na 2 ektarya ang sinasaka ng ating mga magsasaka. Ang kanilang reklamo ay 5,000 lamang ang kanilang natanggap na subsidy sa gobyerno mula noong inimplementa yung rice tariffication law. So kung sa 2 ektarya, 6,000 bawat taon, bawat ektarya ang lugi nila. Sa 2 ektarya sa 2 taon, 24,000 yung nalugi sa kanila. At ang binigay ng gobyerno ay 5,000 lamang. So tatama rin talaga ang mga magsasaka na mag-produce ng pagkain natin sapagkat nagtatrabaho silang luging-lugi maski na may 5,000 na natanggap sila sa nakaraang 2 taon mula sa gobyerno. So ang ating proposal dyan, sinusuportahan natin ang proposal ni Vice President Lenny na dudublihin po ang budget ng ating agricultural sector para matugunan ang pagmoderno ng ating agrikultura para sa pag-produce ng maraming pagkain at siyempre i-mechanize natin ito at i-subsidize natin ng mas mataas naman ang ating mga magsasaka para siyempre matulungan silang mabuhay at mabuhay na kaaya-ayang buhay naman ang kanilang mararamdaman at mai-enjoy na hindi sila nalulugi sa kanilang pagtatrabaho sa lupa. Yung ating mga proposal dyan ay siyempre una ay tapusin ang agrarian reform program ng gobyerno at kasama din dyan ang pagsasabatas ng national land use policy natin para maprotektahan yung mga lupa para sa pagkain natin at hindi kakainin ng mga lupang pang-industriya o gagawin mga subdivision yung ating farmlands, maprotektahan yung ating forest at coastal na mga areas. So kinakailangan natin yung national land use law para diyan. Ang atin namang isa pang proposal ay palagay ko ay kasi matatapos na yung agrarian reform program natin pero kinakailangan pa ng mga magsasaka ang assistance para sa capability buildings nila at mga trainings. Palagay ko yung Department of Agrarian Reform ay i-merge na natin sa Department of Agriculture para isa na lamang ang departamento pero ating pagsikapan na yung mga empleyado ay mayroon pa ring trabaho. So yung merger ng Department of Agriculture at yung Department of Agrarian Reform sa palagay ko ay makakatulong. At palagay ko naman ay yung Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, may mga proposal na sa Kongreso na gagawin ng separate na departamento para matutukan yung mga mangingisda natin na nasa fisheries, at maprotektahan yung ating aquatic resources. Mas malawak pa ata ang ating mga karagatan at katubigan kaysa ating mga lupain, kaya palagay ko nararapat lamang na may bagong departamentong tututok dito, yung Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. At siyempre, napaka-importante para sa aming mga manggagawa ang pagrespeto sa karapatan na mag-organisa. So, kinakailangan talaga ang strong policy of the government na suportahan ang pag-uorganisa ng ating mga magsasaka, ang pag-uorganisa ng ating mga manggagawa. Kung gusto nating madadala ang boses ng mga nasa laylayan ng lipunan sa gitna ng pamamahala. Kaya po ating i-impluensyahan ang gobyerno na ang karapatan ng mga manggagawa na mag-organisa ng unyon, ang karapatan ng mga magsasaka na mag-organisa ng mga asosasyon at mga kooperatiba ay nirerespeto ng ating pamahalaan. Sa kasalukuyan po ay bumabalik tayo doon sa panahon ni Marcos na yung gobyerno ay naging strangers sa ating mga people's organization dahil sa mga red tagging, dahil sa walang respeto sa karapatan, sa pag-uorganisa, maraming mga pinapatay. Dinala na namin sa International Labor Organization yung pagpatay sa noong 2019 ay 56 ng mga trade union leaders and organizers para paimbestigahan ng high-level mission. So maliban dyan ay maski yung mga abogado ay pinapatay, maraming pinapatay sa panahon ni Duterte. 66 na mga abogado sa nakaraang 5 taon ang namatay na hanggang sa kasalukuyan ay walang hustisya na nagaganap at walang investigasyon na konkretong may resulta ang nangyayari. Palagay ko itong mga extrajudicial killing na ito ay hindi tama at dapat isiwalat sa buong mundo at dapat imbestigahan at dapat gawing accountable ang mga taong gumawa nito. At kasama na dyan, siyempre yung patayan sa 6,000 hanggang 30,000 na under the investigation of the International Criminal Court prosecutors. Napakarami po yan at hindi tanggap sa isang sibilisadong lipunan na patayin ang mga inosenteng Pilipino sa isang drug wars na wala namang konkretong ebidensya o wala namang due process na nangyari para sa kanila. Kaya po suportado po natin ang pag-imbestiga sa mga kasong ito. Doon sa trade union and human rights at sa pag-oorganisa ng mga pagsasaka, mayroon pong noong 2012 ay mayroon pong guidelines na inilabas at pinirmahan, parang covenant ito ng Armed Forces of the Philippines, ng Philippine National Police, ng Department of Labor, ng Department of Justice, ng Department of National Defense. At pinirmahan din ito ng mga trade union leaders at ng mga employers group. At may witness ito ng International Labor Organization na respetuhin yung karapatan ng mga ordinaryong tao na mag-organisa ng unyon, asosasyon o anumang katipunan na hindi sinasagkaan. Pero sa karamihang pagkakataon, ito ay hindi nasunod. Kaya kung tayo pumapili sa Senado, ay dapat isabatas ang guidelines na ito para mabigyan ng penalty kung ito pong mga guidelines na ito ay ma-violate ng sino mang nasa gobyerno. So sa palagay ko, yun na muna ang masasabi ko sa kasalukuyang webinar na ito. At handa na po tayong sa open forum o kung may mga katanungan kayo o kung may karagdagan kayo ay welcome din po. Maraming salamat. Randy.
Maraming salamat po, Attorney Sonny. No? Marami kayong binanggit na magandang mga programa, no, na naisip nyo at na pwedeng itulak, no, kung sakaling mapala rin no, sana kayo sa Senado. No, yung tulad ng national wage policy, yung pagpapalawak nga ng SSS coverage para sa informal sector, yung suporta sa mga magsasaka, iba pa mga food producers, no, yung pagpapatuloy ng pagsasakompleto ng agrarian reform policy, national land use policy, yung pagsasama na ngayon ng Department of Agriculture at saka yung Department of Agrarian Reform, bagamat ay pagpapatuloy niyo yung pagprotekta ng mga magagawa nga na pinagsama ito itong dalawang kagawaran, no? Yung pagsasagawa ng isang bagong departamento para sa fisheries, no, at aquatic resources, no, yung pagpapalakas, no, ng pag-organisa ng mga union at saka mga kooperatiba at saka yung accountability, no, ng sa mga nakarang mga extrajudicial killings, no. So maraming salamat, no, sa mga binahagi niyo, no? At siguro kabagi na rin ito ng inyong tugon, no, sa mga binanggit ko kanina ng ating mga discussants, no, sina Prof. Linet, si Gra at saka si Ma'am Arlene, no. Sige, para sa mga katanungan, wag po kayong gustong mga i-post, no, na mga tanong, wag po kayo maginayang ilagay yung mga komento sa chat box o kaya ay sa mga nanonood din sa YouTube, no, meron ding chat box din doon na pwede niyong ilagay ang inyong mga katanungan. Siguro kung okay lang kay Attorney Sonny, baka pwede ko lang na parang itanong yung mga tanong ng mga may mga nagpadala kasi ng mga tanong habang nagpa-register sila sa open sa webinar na ito. Pwede ko bang simulan na lang muna doon sa mga tanong na yon?
Okay po, Randy. Okay po. Okay.
Okay. Yung salamat po. Yung unang katanungan ho dito ay yung ano ho ba ang inyong siguro iugnay ho natin siguro sa inyong yung pagtulak ng isang national wage policy. Ang tanong ni Clyde Rico ng USTP, will you support the 750 pesos as our new minimum wage or even higher? So what is your stance on it?
Alam nyo, nung si Secretary Fermea pa ang nasa National Economic Development Authority, ang sinabi niya ay kinakailangan ng isang pamilyang may 5 mga kasapi ang 42,000 pesos sa isang buwan na mabuhay, na parang tawag noon ay parang living wage na sinasabi. At kung kukomputin natin yan, kung 42,000, kung 30 days ang ating pinag-usapan, ay para bagang aabot yan sa 1,400 pesos per day, ano? So 1,400 pesos per day. At kung ang hinihingi ng mga manggagawa ay 750, ay parang kalahati lang yan sa 42,000 na sinasabi ni Secretary Fermea. Pero alam naman natin ang realidad, ano? Ang realidad. Kami po ay karamihan sa trade unions ay advocacy ay yung 750 pesos national minimum wage. Yan ay proposal na nanggagaling sa trade union. At pwede natin pag-usapan siyempre sa isang pagsasabatas ng panukala ay pinag-usapan naman yan sa Kongreso, sa House of Representatives at sa Senado. At ang punto de vista ng bawat sektor ay papakinggan. So sa kasalukuyan yung 750 yun ang standing proposal ng mga nasa trade union movement. At ako'y kabilang sa trade union movement, kaya po ay sinusuportahan po natin. Thank you.
Sige, maraming salamat, Attorney Sonny. Siguro kaugnay na tanong din patapos din sa sahod, no, at kita ng ating magagawa. No? Kahit na marami ho tayong advokasya sa pagtaas ng sahod ng mga manggagawa, paano pa rin natin mapapaunlad, no, ang ating ang ating kabuhayan. No? How do we stimulate economic growth, no, while we actually also increase workers' wages? So siguro ang tanong ba ay sa ilalim po nito ay makakadlang ba ang pagtaas ng sahod sa paglago ng ating ekonomiya? No? Sa tingin niyo. Ito po ay tanong ni Lilibeth Diapera ng Department of Foreign Affairs.
Magandang tanong yan. No? Marami namang kumpanya na kayang-kayang mag-increase ng wages sa kasalukuyan. Kami po sa Federation of Free Workers ay may mga ongoing collective bargaining negotiations sa iba-ibang mga kumpanya. At ang iba ay na-conclude na at nagkaroon kami ng mga substantial increases naman. Of course, may mga kumpanya naman na sa kasalukuyan ay siyempre ay may mga taon na nag-freeze muna ng increases at financial assistance na lamang ang binibigay sa mga manggagawa o lump sum. No? Bahagi yan ng negotiation. Yung paggamit naman ng pambansang yung national, hindi siguro minimum wage, yung pagkakamit ng sinasabi ng ating konstitusyon ng buhay or family living wage ay hindi lamang sa batas ginagawa, pwede rin natin makuha yan sa mga collective bargaining negotiation o sa anumang mga negosasyon na gusto nga namin yung skema ng industry-wide bargaining. Kung mangyayari yan, kinakailangan siguro ng klarong batas dyan, although sa kasalukuyan ay pwede naman sigurong gagawin yan, pero hindi pa masyado klaro sa ating batas kasi sa practice hindi pa natin ginagawa. Pero kung may batas ay pwede natin ma-encourage yung industry bargaining na magagawa natin. So sa kasalukuyan may mga kumpanya talaga namang kumikita na pwedeng magbigay ng mas mataas na sahod para sa mga manggagawang Pilipino. So yung mga ina-encourage natin yung mga employer, lalong-lalo na yung mga walang mga union, siguro ay isang voluntaryo ninyong gawain para matulungan ang mga mamamayan natin. Ay kung kaya mo nang ibigay, ay ibigyan na ninyo ang pagtaas ng sahod. Okay. Hindi kasi normal ngayon kaya extraordinary ang panahon, kaya dapat mag-extraordinary din yung ating mga employer na tumulong. Thank you.
Totoo yan, no, Atty. Sonny, no. Nakita nga natin, no, kahit na sa panahon ng pandemya, marami pa rin mga kumpanya na tumataas ang kanilang kita o profits, no, kahit na nagkakaproblema ang ating ekonomiya. So siguro isang yung nagiging issue nga yung sinasabi nila yung di pagkapantay-pantay nga ngayon, no? Kaya kailangan siguro ding pag-aralan din itong issue na ito.
Sa aming proposal para kasamang Randy, kung magbibigyan pa ako ng pagkakataon, ay siyempre marami ang mga maliliit na negosyo na hindi kumikita o pasara na dahil sa kahirapan na hinaharap ngayon. So isang accepted na reality yan sa kasalukuyan. Kaya ang aming proposal dyan ay suportahan yung, actually pending ito sa Kongreso at hindi na-aprobahan yung proposal ni na Representative Kimbo at yung ating kaibigan sa taga Bicol, si Congressman Salceda, yung stimulus economic package para sa ating, lalong-lalo na sa ating small and micro enterprises. So makakatulong yan para hindi magsara o para ma-maintain ang empleyo ng ating mga manggagawa. Kung akong tatanungin dyan ay hindi lang loan o zero interest loan, pwede pa rin nating maaring negative interest loan. Kung halimbawa 100,000 ang ipapautang natin sa maliliit na negosyo at kung i-maintain niya at hindi siya magtatanggal ng trabaho ay 70% na lamang yung kanyang babayaran o 80% na lamang sa kanyang pagkakautang para matulungan ang ating mga maliliit na negosyo, siguro mga small and micro enterprises natin o maski kasali na yung medium na hindi magsara at masustain nila ang empleyo ng ating mga manggagawa. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat, Atty. Sonny. So may nakikita lang akong may nakataas na kamay, si Atty. Cadiz. Kung mamarapatin nyo, pwede ba nating siyang pasalitain kung ano ang kanyang...
Salamat po.
Sige, Mr. Cadiz. Nakataas yata ang kamay mo. Sige, habang hinihintay na lang ho natin si Mr. Cady. Siguro may maraming mga tanong ho dito, no?
Good afternoon.
Okay, sige, nandiyan na. Okay, sige.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. May
Good afternoon.
tanong po ako sa chat box, sir.
Okay. Ano pong inyong tanong?
May tanong ako sa sinat ko sa chat box.
Okay. Sige. Sa chat box. Okay. So I want to ask regarding how to alleviate a zero hunger poverty level. So siguro ang tanong siguro ni Mr. Cadiz ay siguro ang may kasama ho ba sa inyong plataforma rin yung pagpapaibsan, no, ng kagutuman sa ating bansa. Nabanggit yung kanina Atty. Sonny, no, yung suporta na ibibigay sa mga magsasaka at saka iba pang mga food producers para makapag mataas pa nila, no, ang kanilang produksyon. At siguro kakibat rin doon yung inyong minumungkahi na ipasa na yung National Land Use Policy, no. So hadlangan ang land conversion para siguraduhin natin, no, na mayroong sapat na mga lupain, no, para sa ating agricultural production. Pero baka pwede niyo pang idagdag, no, ang mga naisip niyo mga programa, no, patungkol sa pagsakop, no, sa issue ng kagutuman at agricultural production.
Oo, ang aming proposal diyan meron kaming sa trade union at pinag-usapan namin tungkol sa ayudang sapat para sa lahat, ano. Lalong-lalo na sa panahon ng lockdown na walang mahahawakan yung ating mga kababayan. So dapat isali natin sa budgetary appropriation natin yung ayuda na sana during the first day of the lockdown ay dapat yung ayuda para sa ating mga kababayan ay maibigay agad sa unang araw pa lamang. Sa unang araw pa lamang ng lockdown, ano. Ang isa pa naming proposal diyan, yung mga natanggal sa trabaho, ay sana ang gobyerno ay lumikha ng mga public employment, no, kung mabibigyan sila sa kasalukuyan ata may 10 araw sa under the TUPAD scheme, ano. Pwede ba natin ma-extend yan sa 1 buwan o hanggang 3 buwan? Yung proposal sa unemployment insurance sa kasalukuyan kasi hindi pa inflation schema, although may unemployment insurance tayo sa SSS na 2 buwan at least 50% ng kanilang kita ang ibibigay sa kanila. Yung ating proposal diyan at the proposal nito ni Vice President Lenny na gawin nating 80% ng kanilang sahod ang ibibigay sa kanila bawat buwan sa loob ng 3 buwan. Palagay ko kayang-kayang gagawin yung social security system yan kung ang gobyerno ay may ibibigay yung commitment sa Section 20 ng SSS law na dapat bigyan ng appropriate budget annually ang sinasabi ang social security system. So palagay ko ay makakatulong din po yan.
Sige, maraming salamat, Atty. Sonny, no. Siguro nasagot nyo rin kahit papaano yung mga tanong dito sa chat box, no, ni Professor Maricel Ibita, no, na tinatanong nga kung ano yung social security program para sa agri at fishery sector. Tapos ang tinanong din ni Ma'am Milet Tendero na patungkol na ano bang mga special na benepisyo na pwede nating ibigay sa ating mga magsasaka at magagawa sa agricultural sector. Hindi ko lang alam kung gusto nyo pang dagdagan ng inyong sagot. Bagamat banggit yun na yung social security program.
Kinakailangan yung ating mga mangingisda at ang ating mga magsasaka ay ma-covered sa social security system. At i-emphasize ko na para ma-encourage sila na ma-cover, ay may contribution sila, tama lamang. Pero ang gobyerno ay dapat pagbigay ng subsidy sapagkat napakabigatin kasi sa kasalukuyan kung 10,000 ang iyong income, ang iyong kita bawat buwan. 11% ang premium niyan na kino-contribute sa social security system. 1/3 ay nagmumula sa employee at 3/4 mula sa yung employer. So kung susuluhin mo yan lahat, 1,000, kung 10,000 1,100 ang i-contribute mo sa social security system, ay palagay ko mabigat-bigat talaga sa mga magsasaka at saka sa mga manggagawa. Pero kung may ayuda o may share ang gobyerno dyan, ay mas magaan na lamang katulad ng ordinaryong employer, at siyempre ma-entice yung ating mga magsasaka at yung ating mga mangingisda na sumali sa social security system natin, sapagkat malaki yung dagdag o madodoble, matitriple yung kanilang parang dineposito para sa kanila sa ating social security system. Pagkatapos na sila mag-retiro, ay ma-enjoy nila. O sa panahon ng contingency o pangangailangan, ay ma-avail nila. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Atty. Sonny. At siguro kasama din dyan yung iniisip na tanong din ni Maricel, Idita nga, yung retirement system, no, para sa ating mga informal sector workers, kasama na rin yung jeepney drivers. No?
Kasama na po dyan. Yung mga jeepney driver actually, kung sila ay may operator, ang kanilang employer ay ang kanilang operator. Ayon sa desisyon ng Korte Suprema doon sa Jardine versus NLRC.
Sige, maraming salamat po. Alam ko, alas 4:30 na 4:30 na. Yung webinar pa natin ay dapat hanggang 4:30. Pero kung mamarapatin nyo, Atty. Sonny, pwede ba tayong mag-extend ng mga 10-15 minutes pa? O meron ba kayong lakal pa na pupunta?
Pwede ba mga 5 minutes lang kasi may interview ako.
Okay, sige ba 5 minutes. Sige. Karamihan ng mga tanong naman ay nasagot na. No? Ang tanong, siguro ang ilan na lang, kung meron na lang kayo siguro idadagdag na programa para sa food security and agriculture, no? What are the other priorities, no, in terms of making sure that we can also help in terms of strengthening food security among rural and urban workers? Galing uli yan kay Maricel at galing din kay Raymond Piñon ng UPLB at saka ni Gladys Ramos ng House of Representatives. So bukod pa sa pagbibigay halaga, no, sa mga magsasaka at saka mga food producers, meron pa yung paggawa ng mga bagong balangkas. Meron ba kayong naisip pang iba pang mga programa para sa mapalakas ang ating?
Napaka-importante dito ang papel ng ating mga educational institution, lalo na ng State University, kung gusto nating i-moderno ang ating agrikultura. Kung mayroong International Rice Research Institute siguro, ay mayroon tayong Corn Institute, hindi naman na-separate na institution. Kung hindi siguro, matulungan ng ating mga state university, yung ating mga magsasaka. No? Halimbawa sa vegetable, dapat siguro gamitin na natin yung ating, kung may ginagawa naman ngayon, ay bibigyan ng dagdag na pondo ng gobyerno na maikabit yung ating agrikultura sa ating academic institution. At syempre, yung mga anak ng mga magsasaka, dagdagan po natin yung scholarship para sa kanila. Ako po'y anak na magsasaka, kung hindi dahil sa scholarship na ibinigay ng Mindanao State University, ay hindi ako makapagtapos ng pag-aaral. So napaka-importante po ng scholarship, hindi lang po libreng tuition o libreng books, ay kasali po doon sa scholarships ng ako nag-aral sa MSU, libreng pamasahe, may allowance para sa pagkain, at syempre libreng dormitory, no, na matitirhan kung tayo po ay nag-aaral. Malaking tulong po yan, at kung wala yon, palagay po ay unemployed ako ngayon o newsboy pa rin doon sa Butuan City nung ako'y high school. So palagay ko malaki talaga ang kinakailangan, ang intervention ng gobyerno. So ang ating naisip naman dyan, dapat i-moderno ang ating agrikultura, i-mechanize, suportahan natin ang ating mga magsasaka. Dapat ikabit natin itong ating pagsasaka, ang ating agrikultura sa mga pabrika at sa mga industriya, no? Para yung tawag ata niyan agro-industrialization, para yung ating mga produkto ay hindi malalanta, hindi masisira na proseso ito, at pwedeng i-distribute sa buong Pilipinas, pwedeng i-export sa ibang bansa. Nung palagi ako sa Geneva, nakikita ko yung produkto ng Thailand na nasa iskaparati ng mga groceries sa Geneva dahil na proseso ito at maayos at safe. No? At siyempre, nutrition ang kinakailangan nito. So kung nagagawa ng Thailand yan, palagay ko magagawa rin yan ng Pilipinas. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Atty. Sonny. No? Hiling na lang po ako ng pasensya sa mga nakikinig, no? Dahil may mahalagang lakad pa si Atty. Sonny. No? So, pero nakita naman namin at kinakalap po naman namin yung mga tanong, at ang gagawin na lang po namin ay ipapagsama-sama na lang to, at siguro kung may pagkakataon si Atty. Sonny na sagutin ito, ipapadala ko namin ang sagot niya sa mga iba pa mga katanungan. No? So at this point, we really want to thank Atty. Sonny for the presentation. I think this was a very enriching afternoon, no, on many policy ideas, no, on agriculture, food systems, employment, no, and livelihood. So bigyan natin ng maraming palakpak, electronic applause si Atty. Sonny, and we wish him very well, no, in his campaign for the Senate. That sana nga ho at makita namin kayo sa Senado sa darating na sa pagkatapos ng election.
Maraming salamat, Arlene, Grace, at Lynette. Thank you sa mga kababayan natin.
Okay, so at this point, I'd like to give the floor now to our closing speaker, who will give the ending remarks, no, for this webinar. No? The closing remarks will be given by Atty. Anselmo Boy Mercado, the board member of the First Community Cooperative, or FICO. Dr. Mercado has a bachelor's degree in agriculture, and also his professional life has been working with Xavier University College of Agriculture for 44 years before retiring in 2007. He has been a rural social development practitioner, doing various roles as teacher, extension worker, administrator, promoter, and organizer of cooperatives. No? So let's listen to Dr. Boy. Dr. Boy?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. I've been asked to give the synthesis for this webinar and also the closing remarks. So I'll stay within the 5 minutes that is given to me. Okay, mayong hapon sa tanan. Salamat, thank you to all for your participation in our seminar or webinar today. What we are really trying to bring in our series of webinars is to bring to light and an awareness, as Dr. Tina Liamson has said, of the formidable challenges and issues in our country, which for decades we have been facing until now. Food security, more nutritious food, better health for all, and development for all. And we ask what can we do? There are pathways to get us over the hill, so to speak. And we just heard some of these pathways presented by our speakers this afternoon. To them, we would like to express our appreciation and gratitude to Atty. Sonny Matula and to the three discussants, Dr. Lynette Camello, Ms. Leandicho, and Ms. Golioso, for their interesting insights. They have good ideas and they're on the ground. Their experiences on the ground are really very impressive. Thank you also for your introduction, Dr. Christina Liamson. It's very enlightening introduction to our series of webinars and challenging us to be more engaged in development work. On my part, I hope I can do justice to them and to their presentations with this synthesis. And let me try. From the panel of discussants, Dr. Lynette Camello, she presented to us the university's social apostolate programs, or some people call it community extension services and initiatives and activities. I think they're doing very great work. They're doing great work with fishing communities, farming communities, and it is really wonderful to know that their community projects are impacting positively on the people's livelihoods, generating extra income for their families. Not too much, but at least there are some. Backyard farming. For the fishing communities, they're helping in doing some practical food processing technologies And these are assisted by the Food Innovation Center of the university. However, they do realize that the project must eventually become social enterprises of whatever relevant and appropriate nature, to be owned and controlled by the communities and people themselves. And so they are searching for more ways, new ways to do so, trying to do something better, along with their research work, and also to be able to transfer the technologies learned from them that are effective. Yes, indeed, the many projects that they are doing are really very impressive development works. As Dr. Lynette said, a cause greater than themselves, greater than the school. As for Ms. Leondicho, she discussed about the informal food sector, and she started her story with her mother as an informal food vendor. She has observed that so many pathways in the informal urban sector for the households to be able to increase food security, to be able to eat better, and also for generating income. Her concern is the removal of this informal sector from where they are doing such works or such activities. She's very concerned about this. And instead, she urges more effective policies to protect and improve this informal sector, doing their activities to be able to live better. And for the points raised by Mrs. Arlene Golyoso, more than ever, she said, we should give importance to produce the quantity and quality of food. On development issues, employment is no doubt a sine qua non to a great many of our people. Salaries, minimum wage of 316 to 500 pesos, 68% of which goes for basic food. This is not enough for quality food for a family. The implication is on the working class's capacity to buy and provide for themselves and their dependents to become food secure. She also points out that the employees need access to credit to provide them opportunities to generate extra income. And she brings 3 points to the discussion in terms of how we can help the people who are in the working class. One is the employment security for them. Second is the minimum wage and security. And third, employment opportunities. As for the talk of Atty. Sonny Matula, I have noted down some points, main points that he discussed. He said food security is indeed still a very big challenge because so many are hungry. They lack food and good access to food. Atty. Sonny was impressed with the presentations and talks of our panel of discussants and their stories that they told about their works and their concerns. The minimum wage and salaries of workers are also a big challenge for the country and really important to review the minimum wage law and to increase the wages and salaries of workers. As for the informal sector, Atty. Sonny said maybe government should provide subsidies and other aids to this sector, and to look into the social security system and review the policies, the provisions, and see how they can help in increasing the social aids to people in need. But perhaps there should be some increased contributions from the employers and employees alike. For the farming sector, increase of budget for agriculture development is very important. And also perhaps, according to Sonny, Atty. Sonny, a subsidy program should be put in place to help the farmers so they can do their production work more effectively. And also put a good program for agriculture development with a good budget. The other ideas and thoughts and proposals expressed by Atty. Matula include the following: to help the fishing families, Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources may be improved. A strong policy of government to help organize farmers, cooperatives, labor unions. The respect for human rights and investigate extrajudicial killings and do what is right to give justice to the people and society. So those are the main points I noted down in their talks. And during the open forum, there were really relevant questions and reactions as well on the minimum wage. For example, increase the living wage. It was analyzed that 1,400 pesos per day is the actual need. But the labor union people are saying maybe 750 would be sufficient for now. Secondly, how to address the issues of minimum wage by effective and better laws. And of course, there should be management and labor bargaining to be able to address these issues. Atty. Matula also said that micro enterprises should be also given some aids, to maybe a stimulus package to help protect them. Maybe some soft loans for the micro small enterprises. And there is also the point that he raised, appropriate budget for social security program to help various sectors of people who are in need. The priorities in the programs and interventions of production and development, especially agricultural production, the state universities should be more involved and they should be given appropriate budget to be able to let them work, do their work in academics, in research and extension work, and help modernize agriculture and fishing industries, and maybe perhaps more scholarships for the deserving needy students. So those are the points that I have noted down. And in conclusion, let me say that our webinar today are in tune with what the United Nations Food Summit 2021 has outlined as 5 tracks by which we can move forward into our journey to eradicate poverty. The 5 tracks are, of course, crisscrossing each other, a complex and uphill journey. Action track number 1, to deliver zero hunger and improve levels of nutrition, enabling all people to be well nourished and healthy. Action track 2, to shift to healthy and sustainable consumption patterns. Action track 3, to boost nature positive food production at scale. Action Track 4, to advance equitable livelihoods and value distribution. Action Track 5, build resilience to vulnerability, shocks, and stresses. And let me also say that the webinar today has brought home some recollections which may spark more reflections on all of us who are engaged in development works with communities and people. I am reminded of what Jesus, the Son of God, says. Man does not live by bread alone. Very true indeed, to which someone also has said, neither can man live without bread. And Jesus also says, I have come so you may have life in full abundance. And yes, indeed, development is in all aspects of life, full and abundant, all inclusive for all, and no one left out. So, maayong hapon sa tanan. Salamat kayo.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Boy, for the synthesis of this webinar. So, I'd like to again thank everyone who participated in this webinar, including our speakers, Dr. Liamson, Dr. Camelio, Ms. Landicho, Mrs. Colioso, and also to Dr. Mercado, who gave the synthesis of our discussion. And especially our special thanks to our main speaker, Atty. Sonny Matula, for inspiring us to advocate for the rights of workers, strengthening livelihood and employment, and also strengthening the food systems in the country. We would just like to remind everyone at this point that there's an evaluation form that you have to, if you can complete this in the next hour or so, we will appreciate that so that we can better organize our future webinars as well. And please don't forget our upcoming webinar on with Attorney Chel Joc, that's going to happen on April 6, and hope that you'll be able to attend that as well, and on April 25 with Senator Kiko Pangilinan. Okay, so maraming salamat sa lahat. Dagang salamat sa tanan, for all of us who attended this webinar. We hope that this has inspired you to look again into the policies that we have in terms of employment, livelihood, and food systems, and we hope to see you in our future webinars. Maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.